In recent times, Lynk Co has felt a bit like the forgotten child of the Geely Group, with Zeekr taking all of the attention. But with the recently refreshed 08, 06 and this new model, could their European dreams be back on track? This is Inside China Auto, and this is the Lynk Co 07. Yes, this is the Lynk Co 07 EMP. It's an all-new model in the Lynk Co range, and it's their second saloon that's now part of 3. So they now have the bigger Z10 all-electric. They have the more traditional 03, much smaller, racy, very old school. And then they have this, which is kind of somewhere in the middle, about a C segment, very competitive segment this to fight in. Quite similar, I would say, in overall proportions and design to the Zeekr 007, albeit that's fully electric. This is, of course, a hybrid 1.5 litre engine under this bonnet. That's why you get a big front end on this. And overall, it's a pretty nice design. You've got the new Lynk Co design, the DRLs here, this kind of H shape, instead of that froggy look that they used to have before. So they've modernised that. Get your big headlamp units down here, a few more lights down here. It does, of course, have an engine, so you've got ventilation down at the bottom. And everything's really good. 19-inch alloys, get along the side, nice crisp lines, swollen surfaces. All feels really, really quite stylish until bang, whatever happens here on the C-pillar. You see the window line comes up and then just breaks out into a Citroen DS3 style shark pillar. This belt line just whips off over there somewhere. Even the line at the bottom just pings off as well. So it all kind of feels like they had a plan until they got to here, and suddenly they didn't really know what to do with all these lines. How do I finish this? Just throw a shark fin on there and it'll all look fine. So it's all good up until this point where it starts to look a little bit weird. But it is quite stylish. You get your pop-out door handles, frameless mirrors on there as well, and frameless doors. So it is quite sporty. It's quite low down. That does cause a few issues on cabin space, but I'll come on to that later on. Overall, it's a nice design. Does get better at the back though. And you can see from this angle that the C-pillar, the weird C-pillar, now starts to make a lot more sense. I think this is the best angle of this car, actually. At this point, it starts to look quite meaty. And instead of being svelte, like it is at the front, it becomes more sporty at the back. Details like this big black plastic diffuser, obviously not really going to do much in real world terms, but black plastic diffuser gives you more meaty lower rear end stance. You've got, of course, a black spoiler on here as well. Can't decide if this is kind of something that was required, a la Audi TT, that came later, or if it was designed to be on there in the first place. It's quite decent actually, it's quite nicely done. You get quite a nice Lynk Co taillight graphic here with your kind of ice cube blocks in there. They all look good. Lynk Co text across the back. And we get an electric tailgate in here as well. So extra bit of convenience. 450 litres of space in this boot. 40/60 folding rear seats. Top tethers for your child seats as well. And a little bit of extra space for gubbins and stuff under the boot floor there. It's not a bad looking car, this. I actually think it's better from this angle than it is from the front. Makes a lot more sense, actually, from here. It's got a nice kind of mix of soft surfaces and tense surfaces. So they have worked pretty hard on it. I just think they could have made this look a bit more organised from the front and from the back as well. Lynk Co are pretty well known, I would say, for having good interiors, quite stylish interiors, quite premium interiors. This doesn't feel quite as premium as some of the interiors that I've sat in before. The overall ambience is pretty good. We've got this two-tone interior scheme with the white and the navy blue. Looks very nice, looks very much like those kind of high-end Mercedes-Benz interiors that you could only buy in Germany. But in terms of materials, it's a bit of mix and match. So you get some squidgy stuff on the top there, some leathers in the door, a bit of leather on here, but you also get a few harder plastics, especially up on the top there around the augmented reality heads-up display and on the lower surface as well. So a bit of a combination of kind of decent stuff and not so good in terms of the material. Even this, by the way, is also plastic. It feels like it looks like it should be rubber, but it feels like plastic. We've got Napa leather on the seats, by the way. So the two high-end models of this car, they get Nappa leather as standard. The base version gets something else called Cortex. Not entirely sure what that is. But overall, it looks pretty nice. We do get heating as standard on the steering wheel for the top-end model. You get heating, ventilation and memory seats on the front as standard on all cars. The two top-end models get 12-way adjustability on the front. The base model only gets 8-way adjustability on the two front seats. When it comes to massage function, the top two models can get massage function included as standard. In terms of entertainment, we get 10.2-inch screen there. That's not really entertainment, but that's for your driving functions. In the middle, a 15.4-inch screen. This runs the Flyme OS, so Flyme is of course owned by Geely as far as I'm aware. So it's nice and quick. Two Antola Pro 1000 chips in there, I believe, or what are they called? Golden Dragon 1 chips, something like that. Never heard of them before. Certainly feels fast enough, maybe not quite as quick as a Snapdragon 8295, but certainly plenty fast enough to animate this 3D graphic here. Decent system in here. You get a lot of connectivity. You can do screen mirroring for your phone. You can also connect it to two tablets in the back of the car that can go on these headrests on the back of the two front seats here as well to make one big connected system. And you get a 360-degree camera in there as well, so you can go into 3D camera and check out that. You also get automatic parking, which you can do with this car as well. So quite a decent system, runs plenty fast enough. As well as that, on the top level of this car, you get a standard 92-inch augmented reality heads-up display. Yes, 92-inch, which I think is the biggest that I've ever seen, and it is pretty big. What I like about it is that when you're driving, the destination and also parking areas around you actually move with the direction of the car. So you can see them kind of going off over there, and if you follow them, you'll get to the car park. So it kind of moves with the car, which I do like, and it's good for the augmented reality navigation as well. We also get, to combine with this screen and this sound system, is on the top two versions of the car, as standard, 23 speaker Harman Kardon surround sound system. 7.1.4, 1600 watts, Dolby Atmos compatible, so a really good sound system in here. Base version of the car only gets 8 speakers as standard, and they're not Harman Kardon, so not quite as good if you don't spend the money. But yeah, that's a good sound system. We also get in here a few other little features. We get a 50-watt wireless charger with ventilation there, but only one. So this side is not a wireless charger. In terms of space, decent sized door pockets, big space under here. Interestingly, with red trim in it. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, there you go. Red trim down there, just to kind of accentuate the interior. We do get little red trim bits all over the car actually, just kind of add something else, I guess, to the interior. We get a pair of cup holders in there, decent sized glove box with 60-watt USB-C and 27-watt USB-C in there, and we get a glove box over here as well. Driving position, I would say, not the best. So I've got quite big feet. I've got size 11 UK feet. My toes can't quite go totally flat on the left side of the car there, so the footrest isn't really quite long enough. Also feel like I sit a little bit higher in this car for some reason than in some other cars, which I didn't expect in a hybrid. In an EV, I tend to expect that, but in a hybrid, I do feel like I'm a little bit higher than maybe I wanted to be. But you get a decent amount of reach and rake on the steering. That's a 12-way adjustability on our car. That doesn't mean we get base cushion extension. We get a bit of tilt, but maybe not quite enough. Not the biggest side bolsters in the world, so they're not really sporty seats. They're more kind of for an attractive look, but they do look all right. One-piece seats, 2 speakers in here once you get the Harman Kardon surround sound system as well. We also get a panoramic sunroof, and yes, it is a sunroof because you can actually pop this open and slide it back. Not the biggest in the world. It's better for the front, I would say, than it is for the back. Oh, another thing about this screen, by the way, you can also do this. Watch. You can tilt the screen to my side if you really want to, or I can tilt it over to your side so you can check it out as well. Might be better if you could just move it with your hand, to be honest, but yeah, that's a nice little feature to put on there as well. And that's really the main thing with the interior. It feels light, feels airy, feels kind of nice. Just feel a little bit compromised in certain areas, but overall pretty polished, and the back is much about the same. In the back, things do feel a little bit more compromised, I would say, than in the front. It certainly feels a lot darker back here than in the front seats. That's not helped by the fact that the sunroof stops here. On an electric car, it might come all the way back here, bathe the cabin in more light in sunny weather like this. The upside is it probably won't get quite as hot here but the downside is it's a bit darker. Not helped, of course, by the dark material on the back of these front seats. It feels a bit more claustrophobic. It's a little bit more claustrophobic in terms of space as well. Headroom is actually okay, not that bad. Knee room is actually fine, though that seat would normally be a bit further forward when driving. The downside is on the feet, so this seat is as low as it will go. Not a lot of space down there for my toes, and does feel like my thighs have quite a bit of space underneath them before they touch the base cushion. So might not be the most comfortable here for a long trip. That can be aided though by the fact that on the Ultra version that we have here, you can get heating, ventilation and massage on these two outer rear seats. Massage functions are quite rare in the back seats of cars, especially at this price point. So that's quite impressive that they get that here. You can definitely help your comfort levels in the back with that. Elsewhere, a few of the little features. Door pockets, of course, you get electric door release buttons there, which is quite modern. You get vents down here, USB-C, USB-A, pockets on the back of the seats, and even though this armrest is quite heavy, it's very nicely damped. So it just slides down there all by itself. Pair of cup holders in there. No ski hatch though. No ski hatch on the Chinese version of this car. So they might change that if they take this car to Europe, because people in Europe do want to have that, at least according to my comments section. Another thing here in the back, you do get expandability in the back of these front seats. These red buttons here, they push in. You can get an adapter in there to have a tablet on the back of the seat. You can get it on that side as well. They can connect to the system as well. So if you do have kids and they need entertainment, that can definitely help. So it's not necessarily the worst thing to be in the back seat of a Lynk Co 07. It may well be the worst thing to try and put a baby seat in the back of a 007. I'm in Hangzhou, so I don't have mine here today, but I can tell you the way these hooks are sighted behind this kind of folding fabric here, same as they were in the Galaxy E8, that is going to be a pain in the bum to try and get your Isofix mountings in there. So that's not going to be my favourite thing to do. Kind of glad that I don't have to do that today. Overall, bit compromised, a little bit darker, but not the worst. Now, unlike most cars that we drive on this channel, the 07 is not fully electric. It is a hybrid, which means that we get an engine and a motor under the bonnet, both on the front axle, and a small battery to provide a little bit of extra electricity as well. And honestly, it is quite a perky setup. The engine is 1.5 litre turbo, I believe, and that is 120 kilowatts, 255 newton meters of torque. On its own, not that bad. Combined with the electric motor, that's 160 kilowatts, 355 newton meters of torque. Sorry, 350 newton meters of torque for a combined 280 kilowatts, 375 horsepower, 615 newton meters of torque. That is plenty quick. It's plenty quick in a car that weighs under 2 tons. That's one of the benefits of a hybrid. It's quite a bit lighter than a fully electric car. Now I'm going to turn left here because there's an autonomous bus driving quite slowly over there, and I want to keep moving. So yeah, I mean, overall it's quite a perky platform. Put your foot down. See, it picks up really quick. It's got some really good mid-range torque. It's a little bit like a Saab Turbo with that mid-range torque, only it's provided by a motor this time rather than a normal engine. But yeah, it's quite an enjoyable drive, to be honest. Really easy to get on with. The steering weight is, I would say, a really good mix between light and heavy. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's not particularly feelsome, and I can't really tell you too much about the dynamics of the car. I haven't had enough time to really throw it around some corners, but it is on the CMA platform, and that is quite an enjoyable car to drive. Quite a good platform to drive on, I'll be honest with you. So overall, it does feel very, very good. Feels like it steers pretty well, feels very comfortable to drive, feels quite luxurious, and it's kind of a good mix of, you know, laid back and sporty at the same time. It's got really good fuel efficiency, by the way, because of that extra power from the motor. It consumes as little as 0.99 litres of fuel per 100 kilometres on WLTC. Less than a litre per 100 kilometres on WLTC, which is pretty impressive. Now the battery that we get on this is a 19 kilowatt hour battery. It's a ternary lithium battery, so an LFP battery. And that you can do electric only mode on this on WLTC for 102 kilometres, which is not too shabby. It's not the best in the world, but it's certainly not the worst in the world either. And yeah, I mean, one good thing about this car is it's really quiet. So even with the engine going, we've got the engine running now. It's running away in the background doing a little job. You can't hear it at all. The only time you really get any engine intrusion whatsoever is when you properly floor it, and then you actually get a bit more motivation from the engine. So if I put my foot down now, get a little bit of wheel spin. Did you hear that in the background there? So plenty of power all going through the front. And as of yet, I haven't really found any torque steer, but again, I haven't really had the chance to push it hard enough to check if it has torque steer, because 375 horsepower through the front axle, it's a lot more than most people would normally accept. But anyway, very good drivetrain, nice and easy going. 60-litre fuel tank on this, and yeah, they do say, by the way, it does 1,400 kilometers of range plus on CLTC. So on WLTC, probably a little bit less than that. Now, prices for this car, again, not bad at all, actually, and this is really partly down to the price war in China. Cars like this are competing in an immensely competitive space. But this one starts at 169,800 RMB, and if you buy it this summer, 162,800 RMB. So that's for the Pro model, that's the base one. For the Halo model, 179,800 RMB, and for the Ultra model, which is the model that we have with all the heating and ventilation and massage and things like that, that one is 189,800 RMB, which again, pretty good price for a car that will take you a long distance in pretty good comfort with a lot of spec on it that looks quite attractive. Certainly a very, very good price for this car. I'll put you the currency translations for those at the bottom, because it's not easy to remember all of those at the same time. All of them come with the same drivetrain, by the way. I'm hoping that they will bring out a four-wheel drive one at some point, because that would just be the icing on the cake. I think it'd be quite nice to have a motor on the rear axle as well. But let's see if we're lucky enough to get something like that. Overall, it's a very pleasant driving experience. I mean, yeah, that's about it, really. It's a very pleasant driving experience. I can't really complain about it. It's not loud. It's quick when it wants to be. It's comfortable and chilled when it wants to be. It doesn't consume a lot of fuel at all. For people who don't really want to go to full electric yet, this car might well work for them. That 19 kilowatt hour battery, by the way, will charge 30 to 80% in 27 minutes. So DC fast charging, 27 minutes. You can also charge it with AC as well. And you also get vehicle to load on this as well. So if you want to, you can plug in camping equipment and things like that up to 6.6 kilowatts. So it can be practical as a family car. And yeah, I mean, I really like the perk on it. I like how punchy it is and how much, the power on demand. It's really quite enjoyable. So that's it for our review of the Lynk Co 07 EMP, a car that's actually impressed me far more than I expected. Yes, it is a compromise package in parts. The rear seats, a little bit darker, not quite as attractive. The interior material quality, some of them are a bit more plasticky than others. But the drivetrain, actually really good, a lot closer to an EV than I expected. That motor makes all the difference in terms of the way that the power is delivered. It's very, very quick, it's refined, it's very quiet inside the cabin as well. If you're looking for a halfway house, somewhere between a fully electric car and an ICE car, an 07 may well be worth looking at. Hybrid drivetrains are getting really very good these days. But anyway, whether this car will come to Europe or not, that remains to be seen. Let's see if Lynk Co actually finally deliver on their promise of bringing cars to Europe. Thank you very much for watching. If you do, thank you for subscribing. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up so more people can see the great cars coming out of China. And as ever, we'll catch you next time.